And welcome back, boys and girls. Thank you so much for being patient with us through that extended break as we jump into our second series of the night for the Trovo Valorant Challenge. I'm your caster, Bach. Joining me on the broadcast is Vansili. We already watched one team march their way on into the semifinals. That was Oxygen Supremacy as they took down 303 in a 2-0 fashion. And I'm not actually sure what happened in the other off-stream game. I didn't pay attention during the break. Kind of took advantage of that break. It's Demon Time who came in 2-0 over I-95, so that's who's going to be playing in the semifinals tomorrow. But we're jumping into our second series of the night. That's going to be Ascend and Way2French, while Team Underrated plays Big Frames off-stream.
That's still an interesting matchup if you're looking at Team Underrated versus Big Frames that's going to be played off-stream, because Team Underrated, they are really underrated if you actually look at the roster. They actually have players like Marv, who played last week in a T1 Invitational with FaZe, and is a type of player that was able to get some good frags going in for the team. Who else is actually in Team Underrated? You have Kenpeki, you have Shanks, you have Ange, so a bunch of guys from the CS scene as well that are heavy fraggers in the Rank G, Rank S/MDL, so it's a lot of experience in terms of fragging power in there. So it's going to be a nice old school matchup. Well, as old school as you could be in terms of the CSGO scene versus Big Frames, who are the MDL team.
But looking at the game we're going to see, it's going to be Way2French versus Ascend. We've seen Way2French play in a lot of the North American events, a lot of the open events, not necessarily getting invitations to any of the big events, but we've seen this team play before, and we've seen this roster and what they're capable of. This is kind of a difficult match to appropriately understand. We obviously have Freshie on the likes of Ascend, who we've seen play. Actually, I think he plays under a different name in Valorant. It's something absurd. We had to do some background and investigation work to figure out who he actually was, but I'm pretty sure that is in fact the case. So Freshie has played throughout some of these early Valorant tournaments. But I don't know. I kind of feel like Way2French is going to come out swinging here, maybe pick up a 2-0.
I believe that as well. I mean, like I said before in our pregame when we first started this broadcast, we also have Bearcun that recently just got back into Rank G, so high players in the CSGO scene. But when you're looking at Way2French, we've seen a lot of this team play before. We've seen the potential that this team has, and the roster that they have looks really good too. I mean, you were talking about French Canadian number 2, but they probably could be like French Canadian number 2 that played against a French Canadian number 3. Because when you're looking at the qualifier, I mean, again, in the second qualifier, it was over 120 teams in North America that participated in the GLL platform for this in the qualifier. So big shout out to them. But when they got into the round of 16, they had to play against Mirage. So Mirage Esports had a couple of guys coming in from old school CS to also Rainbow Six in the Canadian scene, and then switched over to Valorant. So I'm talking about people like Nivek and Shark. So they actually lost to Way2French. Way2French then into the round of 8 actually had to face off against Prospects, and they actually beat Prospects as well. So it wasn't an easy route for this Way2French team to make it into the top 4. So you got to commend them for that. But Prospect had Josh RT, Dicey, Baby J, Vice, and Skelly, and we all know those names. You know those names as you hear them ring throughout your ears box. So it was a good bracket on that sense. When you're looking at the other end, how Ascend made it forward, they actually had to be Destined. So Destined actually had Sean, the Wifo, Ziff, DSR, and Slemmy, and Sean playing in a place of Death, because Def recently was playing with them for the past tournaments, but last week was also playing in the T1 Invitational under the FaZe lineup. So that probably shook up the roster for a bit. They had to come into this tournament. They're having fun playing these tournaments, these open qualifiers as well. They're trying to make a name for inside the scene, but they lost to Ascend. Then Ascend had to play one of our players could build, which I mentioned to you before. They had the likes of Sink, Kaplan, Ronaldo, Decop, and Hilton, where they beat Echo 8 to finally make it into the top 4 as well, or the top 8 rather, to play against Way2French in this matchup tonight. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a very interesting one, as we don't have too much background on Ascend, but head to head on paper, we might think it's going to be Way2French, but it could be closer than we think.
That's the interesting thing, is that Echo 8 didn't make it into the event, but when you look at the roster, Echo 8 had some volatility more recently. Echo 8 had players leaving the team. So originally the roster for Echo 8 was Aaron, Brando, Superman, Rec, and Reformed. Rec and Reformed recently left the team, And the last qualifier they played with Exalt, so that means they were missing Supermen. So the dynamic just wasn't there for Echo 8, for a team who's been really good in North America. They played in the previous qualifier as well, not making it through, losing in the first round to Intensity. Intensity having a roster of Duck, Austin, XP3, Retro, and Bergie. Bergie, of course, formerly known as Thug Waffle, had a playing career in CS early on, also switched over to Battalion for a little bit of time before sort of stepping away from gaming altogether, and now coming back. Retro, pretty competent rifler coming in from Counter-Strike. XP3 obviously has a long-standing career, so they kind of drew the short straw in the first qualifier with the first match having to face off against them. And in the second one, they didn't get to play with their full roster, and they got bested there. So not a kind of surprising to see Echo 8 not make it through. And some of these other team names like I-95, a team that has played in a lot of these events, but I wasn't necessarily expecting them to qualify, and they were able to make it through. But this series coming up, Ascend Way2French, I think it really just breaks down to like what map we're going to end up seeing. And looking at the bottom of the screen, it's going to be Haven, Bind, then Split as the third map. I just don't think that we're actually going to go to Split. I think that it is going to be a 2-0. I want to believe in Ascend, but at the same point in time, we've seen Way2French play quite a bit, and I look at that roster as being very strong.
Definitely. I mean, when you're looking at these 2 maps out of 3 already, I haven't seen much of Way2French playing a map on Split, but I've seen enough on Haven. I've seen enough on Bind, just with the type of players that they have with information. So Melio, that plays a Cypher for the team, is the person that could actually solo hold an A site on Haven, as we kind of saw in that previous matchup for 303 versus Oxygen Supremacy. So he could actually put the camera up, but he could actually get a couple of kills before he actually dies, and he could do exactly the same thing on Bind as well, playing the triple box in the middle of the site, putting a camera up, getting that information, putting the trap wires early inside the B side, and then rotating back, and then his team could count on him to hold as much as he can and try to clutch as much as he can for the rotation to come through and have the numbers advantage. So I got to commend Melio for that. You're looking at Nano on top of that too. Nano has been all-out fragger for the team as well, playing as a Raze for a lot of their matchups too, and even sometimes switching over to the Reyna. So really trying to be that opener, that fragger for the team. Incred and Use, I mean, they have that skill set needed to help as well. Incred coming from CSGO, switched over to Rainbow Six, came over to this one as well. These guys are just having fun competing, as I keep saying often with Way2French. I'm hoping they're going to get picked up sometime soon, hopefully by a tier 2, tier 3 organization. If not, if they're able to continue a positive push to be close to where Gen G is right now, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in a top organization either.
So that's the interesting thing, right? Like, we see tier 1 orgs coming in, and we see kind of like tier 3, I guess you could say, like kind of these really, really small, almost like starter orgs that have very small followings, but they're just looking to kind of dip their feet in. But there isn't really that sort of middle of the pack. Like, there's a lot of teams who are self-representing right now, and I'm kind of curious on why that is. Is it because their expectations are too high? Or is it because orgs are just hesitant to get into Valorant right now? I mean, obviously in North America, orgs have no hesitance getting involved in Valorant. We've already seen big orgs coming in: Cloud9, FaZe, TSM, T1, Immortals, Gen G. Like, all of these orgs are stepping in and signing players. Either they're signing a full roster or they're signing individuals to form a roster. But there is clearly no fear when it comes to investing. But it's that middle of the pack where we saw a lot of teams like maybe like Triumph, for instance, who has teams in MDL, or Chaos, who has a team in MDL, who's actually a bigger brand but has not necessarily a big presence in the first-person shooter world currently. Or, I don't know, Dignitas. There's plenty of orgs still out there that you're kind of curious, what direction are they going to go? And are they even going to stay in North America? Because there's so many opportunities in Europe right now. There's so many unsigned, strong players in Europe. Yeah. Like, there's only, one real team currently signed in Europe?
The thing is, though, Triumph is actually trying in North America. They do have a roster that they picked up. They tried to qualify for this, and they didn't. So it's still going to have to be a roster that's looking to develop going into this one. But we're finally getting into the action. The first map here on Haven. It is another quarterfinals matchup, best out of 3 for the Trovo Challenge Valorant. It is Way2French starting off here on the defender side versus Ascend on the attacker side, as we have 5 players getting ready to walk into this B site.
Melio using that cam over on B, spotting them as they make their way through. but it looks like it's going to be a C play. So we saw a C push turn into a B play before, and now we're going to see a B push turn into a C play here as Freshie finds 2 on the take. The wall goes down, and now they've got the site in control. They have to wait for the molly to kind of finish up over towards C short. Nice deep cam coming in from the Cypher to spot one out on the back end of the play. Mina right around the corner waiting, and oh my goodness, Melio still gets the best of him in the duel. Proximal is there for the quick trade out. Coming through from spawn is going to be Melee and Nano, and just like that, we see the attacking side of Ascend close things out here on Haven. Going to be interesting if they play Ascend on Ascent. that'll
yeah,
be
unfortunately,
a fun
it's
one.
not going to be in a rotation though. It's going to be split.
I know, but maybe one day.
One day, if they make it to the semifinals, we'll see. But at least they're on the right track to make it there, right? That pistol round was actually really good for Ascend. I thought, like you said, it was going to be a B plant because it was so open. They already broke the trap wire. Like, okay, well, we've given our position away. Let's just try to get the money at least confirmed. But they decide to push towards the C side for as a group inside the garage. And look at this strat. But Mochella is actually waiting on the other side. That's the first kill with the Phantom onto Melios. They have a 5-man push from Way2French down towards Long C. And as they get fully denied and a fully open A site, they're all deciding to fall back and look for probably exits at this point. But it should be confirmed that the second round, unless a miracle happens, is going to come into favor of Ascend.
Yeah, just pistols currently here for Way2French, obviously saving up for the next round. You can see them just kind of grouping up right now and forming a line of attack coming out of C Garage. All 5 players alive currently for Ascend over on the A site. And they've got players on the back end of the play as well. Now, they might be in a decent position to catch a few if they try to come through from spawn, but you can see Will already has the Lear prepped and waiting should they decide to push out. There's also the Recon Dart coming out, so now we'll see them slowly inch forward. You can see the trap setup currently there. Proximal spots Melee while they go out for the Recon Dart. The Sage around the corner taken down as well by the Ghost. Proximal needs no help at all as it's 3 at the tail end of the play. Incred dies to the Spike in the end. Not sure if he went for a Ninja Defuse or what the case was there as it happened off camera. But the first 2 rounds do go the way of Ascend.
Yeah, so they definitely want to go with this type of exits that they wanted on this pistol side of follows wind to come through. I mean, when you're that far out with a spike being planted and you already have good post plant positions on Ascend side, very hard for you to try to get some pistol kills when you have to run across angles and everybody's already holding 90-degree shots against you or 45-degree angles. That's very hard to find or hard to spot. This type of game, though, in Valorant, when you're trying to look at other games, when you're trying to go for this gamble of looking 50-50, is he going to be on my left or is he going to be looking towards my right? Man, it's so deep to actually have to look through for those spots. It happens often to me where you try to go for a quick glance and then suddenly he's actually deeper in the corner than you expected, which is why you see some of these changes currently happen on this map. For example, that they added some boxes on Haven. They did the same thing in the showers towards Bind. And I think they also did it towards the back of the mid on Ascent. So you could see that they're trying to eliminate a bit of this 50-50 so that you have more gun battles and those gunfights and the mechanics of the game being more going into play than the 50-50 chances. Now for this round, though, we're going to play very passive for Way2French. We're going to play the retake at the same time, too. They broke the camera. They broke the arrow for the recon as well. They have the plant. One of them got tagged already, too. But it's still going to be a 5-man attempt on a retake for the defenders.
You've got the Cypher currently underneath Heaven with that SMG, the Spectre. Here's the drop come in. Able to turn back around and take down Melio, who managed to find at least 1 kill before dying onto the Reyna. You can see the spam coming out, but it's starting to fall apart here. High into the sky goes the Molly. The Recon Dart is out, spotting out the Sage. The Molly, does it land on position? No, it's not on the spike where it needs to. Incred, though, coming in on the flank, will at least get one. Tries to toss down a smoke, but it's already too late. The site's been lost, and the spike will detonate. Incred's going to die here in the end. The internal clock not quite ticking on cue with the rest of the team. You can see one player will survive. It's Freshie who escapes out of A long. Ascend find the first 3, but that third one was so expensive.
You can see from the retake the attempt coming in for the defender side. I mean, they all peeked them one by one, as you could see, and at the same time took too much time for that retake coming through. So they didn't try to go for a buddy system. They didn't try to trade for kills. They tried to move more fast into the site, especially when the execution started and the smokes already came in from the Brimstone side and the wall came up on the defender side. We already had 3 defenders from Way2French already at the proximity of the entrance of Heaven and lower spawn, but somehow still too slow to react and forced into an eco for Way2French into this round. Ascend is looking very good on the attackers. So like I said, they could come. They're unknown right now looking into this bracket, looking into his best out of 3, but they could still surprise, and so far they have been. And this round here, again, Milio is going to be on his own inside the site. A 5-man push, make that a 3-2 split finally as the Sova decides to fall back. But Mita is going to be the one at the point, going to try to clear out the area.
Will able to get that opener as they make their way out onto the site. The nade will take care of the Cypher, but the site has still been lost. The spike planted currently by Freshie. Incred trying to get over the tripwire on the back end of the play, able to leapfrog it. So just tripped a little bit too low, but not necessarily the fault of the Cypher. It's just the design of the map. Spotted, though, on the flank is Incred by the Sova, who is peeking through from short, also known as Sewer. So Incred now trying to move up fast, coming through on that flank. The Recon Dart does spot them out. Freshie with a nice 180 to take down Incred after watching the Reyna die on site. Jbzzz is there with the Sheriff to pick off Mo. But now you've got Freshie stuck on default, trying to keep his head on a swivel, but there's just too many angles to clear. Proximal trying to do what he can. Recon Dart does come out. The spike being stuck. No, it's been pulled off. Tapped again by Nano. Does he have it? Does he get the spike to halfway? Yes. It will be a round for Way2French. They barely survive as Nano is left with 9 HP, but they finally get themselves on the scoreboard.
And they did it with Sheriff headshots all over the board for Use and for Nano. Nice orb from Use as well on the site to actually pin their opponents to make the shot a little bit easier for Nano on the retake too. He had 9 HP remaining on that defuse. So it was so close there on that 2 versus 1 for the Sova of Proximal. But that piggybacking off a win off a pistol is huge for them right now, because when you're looking at the situation, they're going to be on a buy here, but almost down to nothing. So they're going to be very low on economy should they lose this round. And especially them winning with Sheriffs, you have these operators coming in right now for the defender side. You could see from this overhead view, or this minimap rather, they set a trap wire towards B, and they set a trap wire towards Garage. That's what I was telling you about before, Mark. Some of the players, some of the teams just like to leave B open, stack towards sites towards the beginning, and then readjust as we go. Because as soon as they break the trap wire, they know, okay, well, there's going to be some sort of execution, some sort of split. We could play a retake depending on which trap wire they break. But now an orbital strike to come down from Incred. That's actually going to tie down Reyna into a corner, who gets the spike drop as Incred moves in with a headshot. Nice combo with the Molly onto Frost Orb, but still no kills. A drive-by from Millie, walking operator, wall bang onto Freshie, and we have a 5-on-3 situation, a Sova that's super low, a spike that's down inside the site, and scared Ascent to move back into B or C, or B Garage or C rather.
You can see the Cypher currently right around the corner from Incred after the Molly locked them out of position. Proximal able to pick off 1 using the Shock Dart. The Cypher playing games right now with Incred right around the corner. You've also got the Raze in window. Proximal now starting to back off as the Sage is starting to go around the bend, trying to join up with the Cypher over in Garage. There's the tripwire getting taken down. 14 seconds left. Wide swing from Nano is unsuccessful. User on top of platform, only able to get 1, but now it all falls onto Proximal with 21 HP. Incred will finish out the round with the 3K. And picking up another one for Way2French. A better survival rate here, but still not fantastic, as only 2 players make it out alive. But at least that's 2 guns coming into the round as opposed to 1 from the round prior.
Yeah, still a very close call in their hold, though, for Way2French. Because of the time remaining, there was 10 seconds left. Then they decide to peek 1 by 1. Again, Nano trying to go for a big flank. They were expecting that. Then you have one that gets a kill on the dumpster. They get an immediate trade right there, as you could see, onto Use. And then, thankfully, though, they had the Brimstone right in the corner to trade that off with Incred. And also, they had no time left, so you had to do a lot of noise there for Ascent. But when I looked at how things were positioned, it seems as though Long C had such a big opening there to make it very difficult for the CTs, or the defenders, sorry, to hold it towards the C side. Should Ascend decide to walk up slowly and creep up towards that seaside long. Thankfully, it didn't happen. Way2French wins that round. They get an upper hand into this as well as we get a first guarding kill early in that round. And now an execution on an eco just to make it inside this B site, get a spike plant, get some money, but are they going to try to do the same thing as Pistol? No. So they get the spike plant, they push towards short A and also short C, but everybody's getting picked off one by one, leaving only the Sage by himself. Does have the res. I'm sure Mochella doesn't want to waste a res. He's going to hear some footsteps, so let's make the econ hurt. But the hurt, he does not. Melio gets the kill with the Phantom, and we all tied up 3-3, just like that from an eco round that was won by Way2French 2 rounds ago.
Nice shooting there from Way2French to keep everybody surviving as well. That's what they needed to do to try and build up their econ just a bit. You can see the credits starting to pile up just a little bit. Even with the op in play, you've still got 4,300 on Millie. The lowest person right now with the cash would be Melio, who's sitting at 1,600, in credit 2,700. So good cash flow coming in for the likes of Way2French. But this is another big round for them. They're going to be matching up against a very strong buy coming in from Ascend. And look at the way they decide to play this one. No one on B, tripling up on A. So there's the Leer coming out from the attack as the Cyber Cage comes down. They double peek on short and punish with that, and now they'll back off. The problem is it's looking like it's a C take off that. So a little bit of intel gained. I like the utility used by Cypher. There is a trap down, the tripwire, but it doesn't really work. There's the wall coming in from the Sage to try and buy time. And now a slow orb as well, so there's a possibility. Actually, I think the slow orb came in from the attacking side Sage to prevent a window peek, but it also kind of flattened out the push. With that wall coming in, they couldn't then send somebody up into the window, so now they're going to have to back off. They do leave the Reyna here, so lurking is going to be Will on the back end of the play, but there's a raise right there, and the bomb buddy gives away the position, so Will's going to have to get out of dodge quick and join up with the rest of the team, who is going all the way back around towards that A site.
Definitely, because you already have the Brimstone in the cubby of C2. He could hear that information and people are running away, or if they're trying to creep up slowly towards long C, he'd be able to hold it with an angle with the crossfire too. Now he could stay there. We could have a full rotation as the res comes back towards this A side. You expect somehow maybe they're going to try to execute towards there, but look at them falling back again. They have so much time in this clock right now with so little information from Way2French's side, so they're still gambling here. So they still have a chance to win this round for the attackers. They resplit into C, and now here comes a big play from Incredible, or has to come up with a big play, and he gets totally denied from a drive-by headshot by Proximal with the Vandal, a wall coming in from the spawn side as well, and now that's just going to be a spike plant, a 5-man hold, and even the walls breaking an attempt of a retake of 3 players from the CT, for the defender side, in towards the back of the site. Op shot coming and ringing towards the dumpster, but does not connect to anybody there. But just like that, Way2French, they're struggling for this retake.
I was a little bit concerned too. Look at the number of ults available currently for the attack. You can see the Hunter's Fury pop. You have the Cypher backside who went for that wide swing, wasn't able to make it work. It's down to now a 2-on-2 though, despite all of that utility that's been blown here on the site. Spotted out is going to be Proximal, who may have actually just put a recon dart in the face of the Sage, but it doesn't make a difference. You can see the pulses coming out, but at that time, it doesn't matter. They bought enough time for themselves. The spike is going to detonate in the end. A very expensive round win. So yeah, sure, they win the round, but everyone dies as a result. Look at the cash coming into this next round. We'll pull up the scoreboard so you can see the credits. It's abysmal. You have Freshie on 2,900. I mean, these guys are going to have to juggle guns around just to try and get a buyout, but their utility is going to be terrible. And they spent so much of that, ult buildup in that round alone. To be fair, they baited out ults from Way2French as well, so it was kind of a two-way street in that regard.
And now you can see Will, $3,900 that he had left. Credits, he gets a full shield and Phantom, which means if he used any ability towards that previous round, he doesn't have much to work with into this round. So you're right to say that. And now we're pressing aggressively for the defender sides towards that mid. You have nothing to counter because of that low economy that you have. And now that you're trying to move forward, look at that. See, Reyna has no Leers. So she has the Devour and the Dismiss, no Leers to actually execute in. So they have to body into the site, but they split up to no trades. And that's what I'm telling you. Melio, he could be a soul man holder inside that site, gets a triple kill on his own. Yes, his teammate fell, but he could be that person that could anchor a site and run around those boxes in the middle of the area and still get the rounds, still get the clutches on those aggressive pushes from the opponents. So now that's going to put the attackers of Ascent on a save, and Way2French is looking to get the lead in this first half when they're actually more comfortable as well on the attacker side.
That's one of the beauties of having a Cypher. Cypher can be that hard anchor. So you can see Emilio just lays out all of that utility. Those cyber cages go down. The tripwires were in position using the camera as well. It works out so nicely for the Cypher. Again, I'm liking some of the aggressive play, the doubling up that they're doing over on this A site. Jbzzz goes up top on the default boxes over on C and does get one early kill. But that's the Sage down and out now, which is a bit of a problem early on. And you can see they're going to actually potentially go back towards the C site. They initially went towards long, and now they're walking in through garage. Incred, though, watching that play, making sure that it doesn't happen. Amali's still in his possession, so an opportunity to prevent that from being a reality. But again, a back off. I like the way that Ascend is playing this one. Even though it's a pistol, just this constant kind of rotate out of position. Nice shot from Millie, though. As you can see, Proximal tried to go out over top of the wall, and he gets the last one as well. You thought for sure maybe the Sova was going to get around on the backside of the play, but it doesn't come together as Way2French picks up the win and takes the lead away, making it 5-4.
And it shows that they're very comfortable right now. Way2French, the aim is starting to come on. Those are not easy shots with the operator towards that B side. Just look at that. The first one, yes, it's an angle play. Players like Skadoodle, very good on those angle shots. And now pushing aggressive to get those shots close range as soon as you see a pixel. That's the Wardell style of opping that I really like as well. And just a reflex shot of a person falling down. So Way2French, they got what it takes here. Millie is going to try to do the same thing this round, but does not connect. So cancels out all the praise I gave him on that previous round by not missing a single shot. And also spawned at the Sage towards that middle of the site. That was probably from a Sova recon arrow that came in towards that site. And it's an op battle from that long side. I don't think actually Jbzzz has an operator himself. He had a Guardian a few rounds ago. But now it seems as though it's going to calm down for a bit, where Ascend is looking to rework towards his A side, where again, Melio has been on point.
Emilio right on the backside of this default box, only able to get one as they peek out. They're prepared for it this time. He's played that position in the past. You've got the op here in the Sova's hands, back by Spawn. But waiting for that smoke to fade. The recon dart didn't give any intel. The owl drone, though, still there, ready to deliver at least some amount of intel. Look at this lurk, though, from Nano on the back end, coming in through long. They didn't expect that, nor anticipate. There's the ult getting popped. Freshie goes for the wide swing, unable to find the win in the 1v1, and now it comes down to a 1v1. It's going to be Incred who picks it up onto Proximal, hitting him in the toes and sending his body in a front flip. It's going to be Way2French who pick up the 6th round in this first half for their side. Moving into the latter part of this first half, they'll have a 2-round lead. And the money, again, from Ascend should be pretty bad. It should be another save coming out.
Yeah, a face plant basically by shooting him in the toes, but you still have to have a good reaction on that 1 versus 1 to be able to flick that fast to actually land at least 1 or 2 bullets onto your opponent. Yeah, it's not a headshot. It's not that pretty. But on this high-pressured situation with the spike taking down, you still have to be on your toes, on guard, and be calm as you can on these 1 versus 1. Especially when the other person is only playing Ring Around the Rosie, they have the advantage against you. This round, as you mentioned here, Mark, it's going to be an eco coming in for Ascend. They have a bunch of pistols that they're going to try to work towards this A side. They actually concede the orb, so that's going to be a good thing, at least for Ascend. They now have 3 of them readied up. That's going to be the Orbital Strike, the Neural Theft, and the Resurrection. For the Ascend side, for Way2French, they only have the Hunter's Fury from that Sova. But after putting that wall, well, it's going to be Ascend to say, look, let's fall back one more time, put a camera, get some information, and still work as a team because they only have pistols to work with. So it's good for them to continue grouped, while maybe Millie could have done some Hunter's Fury towards that mid side after seeing those 2 opponents, but he's just going to post up the operator instead to set up a crossfire with Emilio towards this B side, as actually the camera's in B as well, with no cameras towards A, because they actually have Rays pushed all the way up. I didn't notice that until now. So Nano's just around the corner, and here's the footsteps too, and let's see if it could land at least a few. First one to bait. Boombot to come out as well. And now he hears a lot of shots, so he's going to ask for some teammates' help. He actually gets dinked in the face. They force a rotation, actually, and now Jbzzz has to come up huge inside C right now. He gets pinged out as well. Orbital Strike to come down. He gets picked off by Freshie, and now they're forced to rotate back. This is huge here, Mark.
You've still got Incred in position, able to take down 1. Has the peace of mind to take down the lure and actually wins the fight. Now the spike is going to get planted in the back of site, and it's a 3-on-2. This is still very much winnable for both sides. That shot narrowly misses Mo as he goes back into site for the res. Melio has already made it through, and that's going to be Mo going down as well. It's now a 2-on-2. The rifle's coming in big here. There's the neural theft. The jump up with the dink shot, but it's not going to be enough. Proximal survives with 10 HP as Ascend steal the round away. Nano went aggro with that early round play, and it totally backfires as it gives away too much map control to Ascend.
We talk about trigger discipline, but at the same time, we talk about how perfect that bait was from Ascend too, though. Having that Cypher jump across, that's Mina. This just basically did it on purpose to not look towards so long, look towards the left corner, try to be safe inside the sewer side just to try to get some information. And from that single whiff coming in from Nano, and even them winning that fight against him, was probably the best fate you could actually have, especially when you had nothing to work with but abilities, which also came into your favor on your take and on the hold on the attacker side. I imagine what the situation was going to be, though, on that 3 versus 2 block when you mentioned that Operator Bullet managing to just skin over the Sage of the attacker side of Mochila. If he actually didn't get that res up, it would have been a 2 versus 2 right after that. It could have been totally different. This round, though, aggressive push inside the C site. Yus getting the spray across, trying to connect onto Will, but he was already dismissed on the ultimate on top of that, too. Actually, no ultimate, sorry, only just dismissed. But now we still haven't had the spike to be planted. We have shock darts coming through. Mochila connecting with the operator. Second one onto Nano. And that was it. Will's White Swings gets the kill, and we tie it up just like that. 6-6 on this first half. Close game.
Kind of disappointing there. Incred had the ult, but just didn't get the timing right. So Incred pops the ult way too late. They're already all the way up. Tried to trap as many people as possible, but didn't get the intel necessary. So unfortunately, you're going to see way too many bodies make it past him, and as a result, they get full site control. But now we move into the second half, and it's pistols coming in for Way2French and Ascend. As they swap sides, we'll see if we'll have a similarly close second half, or if one team's going to come out swinging hard as they swap over and play defense or attack.
Look at how this is set up. I don't know if they're trying to just bait out a couple of shots here towards this mid side. You do have that Brimstone that's watching any aggressive push it's towards that long C. So we are focusing a lot on control towards this mid. Camera that's been popped up as well. Freshie that's looking from the window. He's actually pushing aggressively. This is going to be actually huge. The timing is great for him because nobody's really peeking out from the window. And finally, Melio does. Gets the headshot, and that's the opener and the call for them to maybe push into garage. But from that smoke and also Nano taking control of that area, we're splitting back into B. So Proximal is actually moving back into this B site. Does have the ghost. Shock darts to come through and trying to go for the pistol close range. But Yus gets a double somehow. 2 people lined up behind him, so he gets a double headshot with the ghost. Nano flanking across, headshot onto Mochila as well. Now you have a 5 versus 1. The attack looks so good on this take for Way2French. Last one to go is going to be I Love Mina. Elise hasn't been spotted from the recon arrow coming through. Gets a nice shot with the classic, a wall bang too, almost connecting with the second one. Actually, not even touching Incred, who wins that fight, and they retake the lead and an important pistol round for Way2French.
Is I Love Mina Berkin, I would assume?
I would assume so.
Not a last-minute substitute? So. Yeah. Because I was curious of that myself. So. We had talked about that coming into the series, but it's the only player currently unaccounted for.
That's not lined up, yeah. Well, I mean, back in the 1.6 days, we already saw those. We saw a lot of those things too, right? You want to express your love. You even want to tag your sponsors into it. You just put into your name. You only have enough space for like 2 characters for your initials or something.
Yeah, that was always kind of annoying. I never understood that. Whoa. Yeah. I never understood why people would decide to change their name or add on to their name. This happened all the time, even on services like ESEA when it came to competitive Counter-Strike. Mm-hmm. You're ultimately damaging your own personal brand. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not allowing yourself to build up a reputation on your actual name. Mm-hmm. So it always kind of confused me. Look at the round right now. 5 players on A, all 5 players from Way2French going C. you know, based on the lack of movement, you would almost think that everyone on Ascend disconnected from the server simultaneously because no one is moving outside of the Sage, who's currently looking around, but everyone else is currently motionless over on the site. Proximal is leaping up, but they've all realized, hey, you know, I think once the spike goes down, yeah, you'll start to see some movement, but just absolutely
chickens with their heads cut off,
not budging. It was kind of interesting, and I'm curious to see what they decide to do now. Like, is this even worth going for? They are completely cemented in on C. At this point, just like group up and play for exits.
For sure, and you had a couple of them with shorties too, so it's so hard to go on retakes with these 2 shots. That's 2 that I see on this third person. Well, that was a nice camera angle, actually. See, like a long range, you get dinked, you got damage for like 6 damage. So it's going to be very tough for them to retake. Pin shields to come through. It should be the round coming in for Way2French. I mean, this is pretty much a mirror of what happened on their pistol for Way2French versus Ascend, but with the exception of being towards the opposite side of the map. Because on that second round, when Way2French were on an eco, they pushed 5 players down towards long C, and then everybody went towards A. Now it's just the opposite, and it was Way2French that gambled it right to move inside this C site, get the spike plant, get the win. They lose 1 player, and actually, interesting enough, did I just see Use upgrade at the same time too? That means that, you know, they're going to keep their Spectres, but whatever they went in that was maybe a little bit weaker as a buy, depending on what player it is, they still want to go for the upgrades and try to bring as much into their favor as they can, while 3 players are just going to play this as kind of like a save round, bonus round.
I'm disappointed by the lack of Freshie memes in chat right now. That was always a standard thing when Freshie would play. There was always the Freshie fan club, and there was plenty of Freshie memes. But we're not getting any currently, so I'm going to need.
I think about the salad. But yeah, big shout out to everybody tuning in from Trovo right now. We got a small crew going on, a brand new platform, and big thanks for them to putting this prize pool to get our $10,000 for NA, $10,000 for Europe as well.
Look at the spray down as they try to make their way onto the site. You've got the Cypher close. The stack towards A works out so nicely for Ascend. That progress that was being built up by Way2French has been stomped out as Ascend was well prepared for an A execute coming in. And a lot of that despite the fact that currently I Love Mina sitting at the bottom of that scoreboard at 6 and 14 was done by them. The cyber cages and tripwires obviously impeded the progress of Way2French, but also a nice double from hiding in that corner, the camera giving away the early intel, forcing that rotation over as well. Well done from the Cypher. We'll see if that's going to continue to be a problem for Way2French.
This is actually quite interesting because going into this round, despite them only having Spectres for 3 of the players on the attacker side, losing this round here put them in a save situation. So what was really desperately needed for Way2French was at least getting the spike down too. But it didn't pull off into their favor, so now you have some sort of a broken buy. I saw 2 rifles, 3 pistols, smokes towards this B. I wonder if you're just going to try to wall through in and go in for a plant, but Will is already close, so close right now inside that site playing as Arena. So you can see them all hanging inside the smoke. Satchel charge to peek up first. Will gets 1 freshie to support. Nana moves forward with the Sheriff though, but it's still Will that stays alive. Dismisses away, getting sprayed towards the side. Actually, he's spotted by a recon arrow too, but they aren't able to get a spike down yet. And just like that, there's only Melio remaining on a 3 versus 1. Still trying to peek out the angles and trying to go for a backstab, but Mina, aka maybe Freshie, side coming, read him like a book, and ties it up 8-8, where finally it's going to be a buy coming in for Way2French, but still kind of broke.
Mina, I think, is Berrican, not Freshie.
Oh, yeah, sorry, Berrican.
Freshie is Freshie.
Freshie is Freshie, yeah.
Yeah. Well held there on the B site. Not seeing quite as much creativity when it comes to accessing that B site like we saw in our previous best of 3 series.
Yeah.
With Oxygen and 303.
Yep.
You can see, though, we've got some aggressive plays coming in. Mo pushed all the way up inside the cubby and a deep wall going down for exit. It's a great start to the round for Ascend. There's the Owl drone going in towards Garage to just try and clear everything out. It's going to go up through the window and out the other side. Spots 1 on the other side. Spam coming through, but the bullet's not on the mark as the target has made it all the way back towards spawn. So good intel gathered up early on by both teams. You had that deep ball and you got that early kill. Taking the Brim ult also out of contention here for Way2French. But now you've got this attack side kind of scrambling. Way2French, they figured out that there was one on the other side of Garage, but they haven't made a clear play or a clear move. It does look like they're potentially heading over towards A. Shock Dart going down to take out the tripwire over on long, and you see it disappear from the minimap as well. Smoke's going down in mid. That should potentially slow things down here for Way2French, as Ascend is just trying to kind of feel out what's happening right now. If they were to go C, which it looks like they're kind of posturing to do, you've got one player here, and it's the Sage. That Sage, Mo, going to need some help desperately.
Unless he's able to mow down one or two. But it's going to be the recon arrow to come out first. He only gets one. Melio trades it out. At least they're going to get a spike plant down for the attackers. Here comes the rotation, and they're actually coming in from long C. So they could split it off, two from the garage, one from long C, one from spawn. Can they get it done with a retake? They do have an orbital strike that they could work with, and a neural theft if the body, well, it probably died down by now, with Incredible's body probably timed out on that monitor. But if Nano loses that fight, it's going to be huge right now for the defenders. He does not. Orbital strike to come down at least, though, as they're trying to retake it. Fresh does get the kill into melee, but there you go. Melio and Nano crossfire set up for the last three, which salvages the round for Way2French. The reason why I say salvage is I'm kind of questioning how Incred lost that fight in that Cubby of C, because he's the type of player that pushes down in that area. So I would assume that he would be the type of person that would actually really take that corner. Because from that point of view of Mochilla, I saw that Incred glanced, looked back forward, and it was like, oh crap, there's actually somebody there, and it was a little bit too late. Check that corner. At least, if you're that type of person, always playing that angle.
Yeah, it was a soft clear. He didn't hard clear it. He needed to hard clear that corner.
Exactly.
So Nano goes vertical with the satchel, takes out the camera from the Cypher over on long. I think the big misplay there from the defense was just having that Sage on C alone. With only slow orbs left, playing back plat as well. Not really a defensive position whatsoever. So it was very difficult for that Sage to really play defense. They needed more intel. Nice shot coming out from the operator as Freshy's going to be watching from the sidelines. At least for the time being. Not sure where the Sage's ult is charged up to be, but it's possible maybe a kill or two could push her over the limit and bring one back into the fold. There's Nano picking off the aggressive Cypher over on the A site. Deep orbital strike coming out from the Brim will force the defense out of the site. A high into the sky recon bolt does at least get one pulse spotting the players. Tripwire's also giving away positions of players on short, but at this point that information is already a given as the spike's been planted, and it's a full save coming out from the defense. Ascend doesn't want to surrender their weapons, so they're already going to stick over towards C and give up the round, giving away round number 10, double digits for Way2French.
Yeah, and I'm looking from that mini-map, but they're actually going to try to hunt him down. So far, you do have an operator posted towards the back to watch that flank, which is going to be Melee. But he's not going to spot anything there. So far, this spike should go off. It's going to be, well, not should, it will go off. It's going to be 10-8 in favor of the French-Canadian team. And the exit seems like it's not going to happen, and the three defenders should be able to save their weapons. So going into the next, at least they have the Empress and they have a neural theft. I think this is gonna be quite good for them if they want to try to go for a retake kind of play, put the neural theft out, have the Empress, and then just start fragging and dismissing all the time, so you become invisible and try to get as much information as you can. So using the Empress kind of like as a attacker type of person. It's also nice to use the dismiss on kills to get more information, kind of like a soft run it back for Phoenix, as I see some of the players do it, such as Asuna when he's playing as that character for Immortals. You get a kill, you go for a dismiss, you clear corners, you go for a jiggle peek. Is there another player? You could call out for your teammates. So if you lose the second fight, at least you have that information for rotates.
As strong as Devour is, Dismiss is almost the most annoying skill currently in the game.
Yeah.
The ability to completely go invulnerable. I understand like people in pub play complain about it being completely invis with the ult. Like that actually is less annoying to me. Because then people think they have this great play and they try to get a little bit more creative and it backfires. Speaking of backfiring, the showstopper was popped on the B site. It didn't really do much, but it did scare away the defense to the backside of the big box. As a result, they were able to pick up the kill. The wall goes down as well. They're going to start spamming through it instantly to try and open up an avenue of attack back into the site. You do have Brim and Sova trying to come through. That's Freshy as the Brim Proximal as the Sova. Shock darts towards Gong. Millie and Nano, though, locking down the defense to force it down to just these two. Melio was on the backside of site. They never anticipated that a player could have survived all the damage that was sent in that direction. Proximal will eventually fall as Nano comes around the corner. 11 rounds now on the board for Way2French as they get dangerously close to closing out the first map.
Yeah, and I was trying to look at the money. If you're looking at Freshie right now, he's only at 3K. I don't know if he bought very low where he actually didn't have... Yeah, okay, so he did buy very low. He probably didn't have enough credits, but it's very... I found it interesting that I didn't see many of stim packs being thrown on Freshie's side, actually, on the defenders. Even less, actually, from Incred on the attacker side. So the stim packs are not really being used at their full potential, full advantage. I know you've mentioned other Brimstones, Buck, whenever they play, you throw the stim pack and then you shoot down the wall a lot faster to get more coverage into the site or to try to go for those retakes. And now this round, they finally check the corners, but Incred, once again, loses a fight, but it's traded off. Now Mochella is getting tagged, fully healed. He's going to be able to survive this. He will. And a res did come up, but Freshie moves forward, gets the kill onto Use. It's now a 3 versus 3 as we are committing inside the C site. The spike is actually down. Now just around the corner, paint shells are going to come down to defeat our Fresh. You can pick him off as well. And because of the Boombot and his satchel charges coming through, you're forcing the defense back towards the spawn. As they line up, he loses that fight. But it's a 2 versus 1 now as Melio comes in from the garage. They know that Mochilla does have the operator. Why do you go for the peak? Why don't you go for the plant? Now it's a 1 versus 1. A res to come out too. And Melio has to come up huge now. Who pushes forward, gets the first kill. The bullet's not enough to get the kill onto Mina, aka possibly Bearcun. I got it right this time. But man, I don't know why you peeked.
Again, Mina not having the greatest game. 9 and 18, the performance coming in from the Cypher. But impact is the name of the game.
Yep.
And sometimes, you know what? A Cypher maybe not going to be a statistical leader. Because a Cypher is usually on the opposite side of the map. Because chances are you don't want to go after that Cypher side of the map because it's a pain in the ass. There's too much utility to run through. The tripwires, the cyber cages, the camera spotting you out early. It can be seriously annoying to try to get past the Cypher, so a lot of teams opt to shy away from it. Kind of like a Viper with an ult. You don't necessarily want to go towards that side of the map. Here, it does look like they are going to be challenging the Cypher, but at the same point in time, Mo dies over on the C site as the recon dart was delivered from the Owl drone of the Sova. So that is a bit of a problem, as now they've lost their lone C site defender, and Way2French is reacting off that. Freshie tries to peek out, and I understand the play. A dink shot coming out from the Spectre. That's the Spectre that I know. A dink shot, no fatal blow coming out from the SMG. The spike now being planted, and it's going to be a 5-on-3. This is a mirror of a previous round where they decided to save, except this time they can't afford to do that. They cannot give up round number 12. They have to fight for this one. So they're going to be moving back in towards the site. Recon dart to go out first to try to give them some intel. The intel is denied as the recon dart gets destroyed instantly. Proximal taken out by Use, and now a save is being called as they realize they lost the only intel getter they had. The camera from the Cypher not able to be deployed in an area that would make a difference for the play as it was already sent out. So at this point, just pick up the tripwires and try and save the gun for the next round. The Reyna and the Cypher locking things down on the A site as best as possible, hoping that the attacking side of Way2French doesn't come hunting.
I think it's smart. I think it's a smart play at that point because now it's going to be, yes, map point for Way2French and his best out of 3, single a limb. But at the same time, you can now drop this Vandal. You could drop the Spectre. You could actually have 3 ultimates to work with as well that could actually damage Way2French into this round and into the next, hopefully, because they're going to have plenty of money to buy for at least 2 more rounds for Way2French. So yes, it's a crucial round definitely for Ascend because you lose this one, it goes into the next map, but saving those 2 guns would probably be crucial for them to try to stay alive because into this matchup, because if they actually lost those last 2 guys, then they would have had nothing to work with but ultimates into this round as defense. So now, I think Way2French kind of sees that coming. So they are pushing a lot more aggressively towards this long A side by throwing an early Frost Orb towards Sewers. They have 2 guys buddying up towards long A. I don't know if maybe one of the players, maybe the Sage is close to the ultimate. So they maybe want to contest towards that ultimate point, ultimate orb. But now you see them falling back, and they're going to try to reassess towards his mid side.
Way2French right at the finish line. Just need to coast past it. Again, an interesting setup coming in from Ascend, favoring the Sage on C instead of the B site where you'll see a lot of teams play the Sage. Cypher on A. Sometimes you'll see the Cypher on A or C. That's not as crazy. But here goes the take. Whoops! Nano just botched the satchel, but it's okay. Proximal still gets caught out by it anyway. Nano literally just almost ruined his own play. The bomb buddy's going to go out and will potentially spot out positions, but there's a nice orbital strike coming in, delaying the plant, and that also gives an opportunity for this flank play to develop as you've got the Reyna on the back end of the play. The Cypher skill popping out, giving away the positions as the neural theft tells them where everyone else is hiding. It'll come down to 2 here for Way2French. It'll be Melio and the Rays as they make their way forwards onto the C site. The spike's going to be planted. Neural theft giving away the positions means that Melio now has his work cut out for him. 4 players surviving on the round win for Ascend. Solid round. Started off a little bit bumpy, but the way they defended that B site after initially losing the player playing B in Proximal worked out so nicely for them.
Yeah, let's definitely call I Love Mina Berkun from now on. I'm just going to do the executive decision and do that. It was all for him, too, how he was able to help the team to actually prevent any plans happening towards this B site. As you mentioned here, the Spectre is the instant dinks that they have with the Spectre long range. He actually got the first kill onto the Spike carrier, trying to move inside the site as the Brimstone, and Craig gets picked off. Nice orbital strike on the defense, too, to get that second kill and force him out of position to give a chance for that rotate for the defenders to actually win that round quite easily there at that point. I mean, they came, what, with a 4-on-2 situation in the end? They made it even winning 4-on-0, so they were able to manage to save a lot of economy into this round here to actually go for full guns, a lot more damage than they could. I'm sure they upgraded from the Spectres to the Phantom and the Vandals at this point. Now we got Shock Darts double towards that back of the site. A self-heal is going to be forced on that Sage, which is actually going to be very good because now it's going to be on a timer where he cannot go for another save for another, like, what, 40 seconds as I talked for the last 5. And now as they're going to look back towards it, they're going to work towards his A side, B side. But here comes an aggressive push by Arena towards Long. He hears the footsteps running away. I know he's very close to that trap wire, so he should hear that humming. So they're just trying to find that right time, that right position to go for that flank.
It's all about timing right now for the Reyna, playing aggressively on long A. They're moving back towards B. There's the cam coming out, just trying to spot them. Gets the intel, sends a dart down. They're going to go ahead and stick it towards this B site. Ooh. Nice bomb buddy coming in. That'll drop the Cypher very low on HP. Freshie gets a molly kill before being traded out by the Cypher. It's going to be a 4-on-4. The damage dealt to the attacking Cypher far greater than the damage dealt to Berkun. There's the slow orb towards the backside of site, and you can see that damage playing out to full effect. They've got players on the site, but you've got Incred here with the ult. Just waiting for the spike tap. There's the ult coming out. It's possible that with the molly, that's all they'll need. The molly's going to go down on top of the spike as well. That's likely going to be it. It's down to just the Cypher here. The last one surviving on the site knows that there's not a chance. And as we see it, Way2French takes out map number 1 as Ascend goes down 13-10 here on Haven.
Yeah, and you saw it there. I mean, the Reyna was in a great position at long A. Didn't go for the trapwire break to go for a big flank. He actually rotated back all the way from A side to move towards B to try to play that retake. But already for Way2French, they were in such a great position on pulse plan situation. You had one guy at Gong, one guy at the entrance by the right side boxes under the window. You had already Incred with the ult towards that garage door. And then you had the opper of Mill, I think, or it was Melio with the op towards that window side. They had everything covered. If actually they had that flank coming through from Will, there probably would have been a chance where it would have put Incred in a tough situation where he has to pull away from his iPad and not being able to pull the ultimate down. Nobody pushing through from the garage either, so they weren't really contested on a retake situation. So I think they kind of fell a little bit, they crumble a little bit for Ascend on that last round. But overall, you still got to commend on how well they've played for such a team that you've heard not much of, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I got to give credit to them for how well they put up a defense against Way2French. We thought this was going to be a Way2French walkover, picking up a quick 2-0. Well, let's take a look at the highlights so you can see just how things went down on this first map. You know, it started out in the pistol with Proximal. Actually, this was the second round, so that was the round after the pistol. They just went nuts there. picking up that second round. I mean, it was a back-and-forth volley early on, but it was really Ascend who got off to a strong start, and then Way2French started to fire back, but they kept things close. You know, there was a possibility that this was going to overtime just based on the way that the rounds broke down very early on. We saw a lot of good looks from Ascend, and we saw some mistakes as well made by Way2French that cost them rounds they likely shouldn't have lost.
No, definitely. But I think overall, you saw them come back a little bit. I talked about the 3K with the operator before from Way2French towards the beginning of that first half. They're starting to crack a little bit more here on the attacker. And things look very good. I said that they were very comfortable playing towards this attacker side of Haven. So getting actually that 6 rounds on that first half was probably plenty that they needed. I mean, your first to 13 matches are bound to be very close if you let your opponents run away with 2 or 3 rounds when you're more comfortable on the other side. So it's not too bad. I think the end result, it's probably what Way2French was expecting. It's probably the result that we see, and they're like, yeah, that's pretty much how we expected that to go. But now we're going to move into Bind. Bind is going to be another one here that's going to be, I find, very tough for Haven. For Ascend. But when we actually look at how things have been going on for them in terms of the opping power that they have and the trade situations they're able to come in for that team, I'm still giving it to Way2French though, but I think it's still going to be another close map.
I think one of the biggest things we're going to need to see is an improvement from Bearkin in the first half. Playing that that Cypher. Cypher is so important on a map like Bind. Being able to completely lock people out of either A or B. You can play either site. A lot of teams favor the Cypher towards B because you have those long vertical tripwires coming out of hookah that suspends someone in midair like they're trapped in a spider's web. That's always fun to watch. But there's also a lot of fun tripwires you can toss over on the A site to make things a little bit more difficult for someone trying to retake. And you can also just get very creative with some other tripwire placements. Like, let's say you want to play real passive. You want to play retake on B. You can tripwire the tuna can. So then when they start making their way out into the site, it sort of delays things a little bit. You can be hiding back site. They run right into one, and boom, you just pop out and take somebody down with you. You know, Cypher is an incredibly important tool when it comes to Bind defense. So we'll see if the Cypher for Ascend can pick things up, because the first half of that first map was a little bit rough. Second half started to pick things up just a little bit better.
Definitely. And then I think what we're going to do now is then go for that break, wait for that second map to happen as they're hopping inside that lobby. So we'll be back here with Buck and Vansili for the Trovo Challenge Valorant. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Valorant Trovo Challenge with Vansili and Buck. We've just witnessed the first map being won by Way2French versus Ascend 13-10 on Haven in a best out of 3 single elimination. About to move on to the second map. Second map being Bind. We talked about it a little bit in terms of how it's going to be maybe difficult for Ascend to try to win this versus Way2French, but also the amount of possibilities as a Cypher of getting a lot of information into this matchup to see if Bearkin could actually step it up and help that team out. When we're talking about how agents are actually really good right now for Cypher, despite the nerfs that he's gotten in the past few patches, you could still see Cypher being like an S tier character in terms of agents being selected in these type of tournament plays still, Buck.
95% pick rate, if I'm not mistaken, currently is Cypher. Cypher, one of the most played characters currently in the rotation. You're even seeing some Sageless comps, but you're still seeing comps with Cypher. It's pretty common. You want that Cypher, you want that intel. I think that we're going to continue to see it taper off over time as more agents are going to become a little bit more powerful and maybe a little bit more flexible in that position. But looking at our other quarterfinal currently live right now, Team Underrated took down Big Frames 13-7 on Bind the first map.
Wow.
So Team Underrated kind of living by their name, because looking at that, you would have assumed Big Frames, with all the time played together, would have been able to muster up the victory in that first map. Not going to be the case. Again, you mentioned it coming into this, Underrated playing with Marv, who recently played with Team FaZe in their run during the T1 NSG Valorant Showdown. And that team actually was really surprising, and Marv was a big part of the reason why. We knew what he could do in Counter-Strike, really gifted mechanically, always had great aim, played with teams like ZPG, actually managed to play at a pretty high level with that roster, but it never really felt like Marv got beyond that. It always felt like that was sort of where his career sort of just plateaued. Yeah. I always feel like those kinds of players are the ones that transition really well over to Valorant, and we saw that there. So no surprise to see them pick up that first win, but still, big frames, not able to muster up enough. And now I've seen this cyber cage thrown out there by Mina before in the past, lands right up in that window. Comes down as a bit of a one-way that can be used to hide inside Cubby if they were to go for the long take. I've seen this camera. This is a little bit old. This is one of the earliest cams that you would see over on this B site up on the spikes to peek both long and hookah. It's pretty easy to spot out if they try to go towards long, which is what it looks like we're going to see at least some of the early players from Way2French on attack make their way towards.
That's right, and nothing's really changed in terms of the 10 players with the exception of Will probably switching away from the Reyna to play the Raze on the defender side of I was going to say Ascend here, but it's going to be Bind. I just got confused with the team name versus the map. But it's going to be the execution now of Way2French inside this B site. Still be a fake, though. You see the 2 smokes coming through, make that even 3. Now they take the teleporters because the spike was already waiting there inside the showers room as well. Now Mill spotted somebody on the top of Heaven. Paint shell's coming down. That's going to damage his armor and his HP down to 85. At least they get the wall up. They get the spike and the heal also to Incred, who is down to 25 HP. So a 5-man attempt of a retake now for Ascend inside the site. As the first one is going to be Freshy looking for the information, but everything is also clear. Brimstone about to push forward towards the shower side. 3 kills make that 5 simultaneous, only losing 1. And all of this action happened towards Heaven, Showers, and the U-Haul. And Way2French gets the pistol.
I really like the way they played that pistol as well. Strong pistol play coming out from Way2French, sending feelers out towards B early, but obviously the plan was to go A all along with the spike all the way back towards A site outside the showers. So the pistol round doesn't go their way. How do they adjust in the round that follows? You can see Proximal has already gone towards the shorty. But take a look at this replay. Incred picks off 1 and 2 right outside of showers. That was off the back of getting a heal as well, being dropped very low in the initial battle. Freshy wants to get aggro. That's the way he wants to adjust this one. So he pushes in close. Freshy and Will with just classics actually managed to take down 2. One of those being the Sage. So heal's taken out of the equation here. As the smokes get popped, they're going to be moving on in towards this A site. The players remaining from Ascend, though, they're still playing hookah with the crossfire of shorties, and there's one going through from spawn. They're now hearing the spike plant. They realize that this play is blown up, the plan ruined. There's a recon dart coming out from Proximal, but again, 3 shorties trying to retake, regardless of what their HP is at. It's not going to be easy.
No, definitely. I like the idea of how things are being played there. Despite that being locked up still inside that hookah, I like the play that they were trying to do. I think it was just that they were trying to move forward. And Cred gets 2 more kills, looking for the ace. Mochella looking for that flank, at least for exit with Shorty. So what I was trying to say is that push that they had towards short A, they're like, okay, well, hopefully if we get 2 or 3 kills, they're going to have like, oh crap moment, and then they're going to have to fall back and try to move into the B site, where they're going to be met up with a crossfire, a double up Shorty, sorry, towards that hookah side. But unfortunately, you just saw the drive-by Spectre from the Brimstone actually just run through and get those 2 first kills. Incred moving forward for the 2 other kills towards that pulse plant situation. So at least they did some econ damage there, and that's going to be that moment of salvation that they have, because when you look at the amount of money that they have into this round, Use actually has to go for a small armor with the Vandal to be able to get all the abilities that he needs, and the Spectre has to stay in the hands of Incred, while the others could go for a pretty similar buy.
Looks like we're going to see some aggression come out here as well. There's 3 players currently inside hookah, but it's just going to be a fast play onto the A site. They're going to use that ult coming in, the orbital strike, to try and clear out the site. Wow. Doesn't work out so well. They ulted U-Haul. There's the nade at least going in towards site, but will get the trade onto Nano. Will actually running low on ammo, trying to escape, can't get the pin pulled on the nade. So it will boil down to a 2-on-3. You can see the Owl leading in first. They know there's one towards spawn. They're going to send the Owl drone in just to spot them out. Melio picks off Mo on the flank. Now the Cypher drops down, almost gets caught while falling. Would have been incredibly detrimental to the round, but it's going to be Millie who ends up finding the 3-piece, taking down the last remaining player. And it will be Way2French who narrowly escaped that first round, that first full gun round. The problem is, we talked about this before, those rounds, that 3rd round is so punishing for the team who wins the pistol, it already hurts the money enough. So to only come away with that few players, with one player surviving, that's tough. Here you can see just the way he played that one, picking off both, just timing not working out so well there for Ascend.
That was still so clean. And it looks so good for Ascend, man. They had a 3-on-2 situation. They had a perfect hold at the beginning of the round. The defenders in the A side did whatever they could, right? They got 2-3 kills. They got picked off, and it all came down to that rotation right after, and somehow they just couldn't hold it. They had enough information maybe with the Recon Owl that came through, or the Owl drone, and that was it. But now Proximal playing close inside that garden, but because of the amount of money that was spent on that previous round, they don't have that much to work with for the defenders too. So you see the last two guys just decide to fall back and save their weapons here. So it's going to be 4 players still able to stay alive here for Way2French. Even I like that, the res to come through, because it was still an expensive round that was invested for Way2French. They're able to build that economy back. And using a res already 3 rounds in, that means you're going to have another res possibly by the end, before the end of the half. So I like the fact that when you have the ultimates, just use them when you can.
You see too many teams get trapped, and actually too many players get trapped in this mentality that they need to save their ult for the perfect moment. And the reality is, sometimes there is no perfect moment. So a lot of players will hold it and hold it and hold it and wait, and then eventually they've had their ult for 6 straight rounds and they use it at the end of the half just because it's the end of the half. So sometimes it's better to just pop those ults early. You know, you have those ults for a reason. Some of the ults, you should just try to use them, especially ults like Orbital Strike or, you know, like the Showstopper. Res, I can understand. People want to be very careful with how they utilize the res, because it can take a little bit of time to charge that one up, and because it can be a round swinger. It can turn things around so rapidly. But at the same point in time, it's really good to keep your economy stable. I'm a huge fan of econ reses. You see it all the time. It really confuses the community. What we're talking about there is a res done after the round is already won. So you might think, oh, well, that's stupid. What are they doing? They're trying to stabilize their money by bringing a gun back into play. So by keeping 4 players alive instead of just 3, you only have to drop 1, which means your money gets to stay pretty stable. And that's the whole idea behind that.
Now, first player fell down there. A tight angle being held by Mina with the operator in the corner of the hookah area. And that's going to force him to fall back. Actually, it's Mochila, sorry, I think, as the operator. They're able to move in now as they have a smoke execution towards the front of the site, but we're still hiding in the corner in the back of B, and it is actually Mina. So Barracuda trying to push forward. He does get a second kill, but immediately traded off now. Melio and Cred going to work here as they even up the tally. We have a 3-on-3 situation, but as Bach mentioned before, try to use your ultimates when you can. They have the orbital strike that they could use as a defense, but they also have a showstopper that they could also use as a retake. I'm expecting that to happen, but maybe they don't need it, because Fresh is already on a big flank at long B, gets the first kill. Now it's traded off and the showstopper is canceled. Melee's moving forward, and now the orbital strike is out. They're trying to find him. 7 HP left on Melio, but it's a 2 versus 1. Make that a 1 versus 1. A flick to come through. A wallbang headshot then onto Freshie. So from a big flank, getting 3 kills and winning that round for Ascent. Too close for comfort, but at least they get it.
Yeah, and Way2French's money should be pretty bad here. It's actually not as bad as I expected, but it's definitely not good. You can see the cash flow kind of problematic despite winning 4 straight rounds. So they're actually going to split buy. They're going to have 2 players go down low. And no, they're full buying.
They'll have it. They'll have it, definitely.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they're actually able to afford all this, especially given that the operator is coming out. Based on what we saw on the scoreboard money, it didn't look like they were going to have enough. Regardless, we do have the op in play here for Ascend. It's going to be in Bearkin's hands. There's the Cyber Cage coming out on long, but there's actually no one challenging here. The rest of Way2French is actually moving on over towards A. There's a bit of a one-way smoke down on top of the boxes on short, but there's 3 smokes out from the attacking Brim. This is the classic 3-smoke Sage Wall execute on the A site. We should see the Sage Wall go up. We do. The spike's going to be planted. And the site control is given over. But there's the rocket. The showstopper coming in. Stops the plant as well. Somehow that rocket hit the top of the wall, but still did enough damage to kill the player on the other side.
Still manages to get a second kill onto Melio. Still stays alive for a 3rd kill with the headshot. So him losing that showstopper that previous round, not too bad. Getting a triple kill here. Nano trying to even up the tally inside you. Only is stopped at 1 kill on the scoreboard. So Use looking to clutch. is going to heal himself here on the 3-on-1. They have the neural theft, but they also have a camera, so they don't need it. You also have one waiting inside the garden, so Mochilla winning with the Phantom, getting that frag. A very, very nice hold there by Will. And maybe sometimes now, lesson learned, you might want to step away a little bit further from the wall when you're going to try to go for a plant.
Yeah, but if anything, I would feel like being close to the wall would make me safe. That was bizarre.
Or maybe like hugging it.
Look at this. That hit the top of the wall.
Yeah.
How does that work? All
yeah,
right.
I don't know anymore.
I mean, like, the rocket hit the top of the wall, and he was off to the left. I've seen rockets hit the ground right next to people, and they survive.
That's me.
I'm a little bit confused by how that works. Maybe it's like the old Day of Defeat rockets. I don't know if you ever played DoD back in the day.
Yeah.
But the rockets in DoD are heavily underrated because they do splash damage. But people thought, oh, I have to, you shoot at the ground and they blow up. No, you shoot at the ceiling, and then it does damage to the skull. So it's like it counts like a headshot. Oh, me and my buddies used to have so much fun trolling people with RPGs. That and MG42s because we played Counter-Strike, so we knew how wallbangs work. So we would lay down prone with MG42s and wallbang people. Oh, it was a lot of fun. Banned from many servers.
I could definitely see it. I could definitely see it too, because when you're looking at, like how this game came about, you have people that came from the TF2 scene too. So the colors, the map layouts, the way that the rockets coming out, the colorful rocket shots, it's kind of like TF2 when you're looking at it too. So I don't wonder if the physics is very similar in that sense, but I'm not the developer, so I wouldn't know. At least this round though, it is going to be an eco coming in for the attackers, but still a showstopper from Nano is opening things up. They put a wall up as well. They're going to be able to get the spike plant. And a 4-on-3 situation, so even a one-man advantage. They even salvage a few weapons. Mochella's already on that flank, but he's on his own, so that Sage heal is going to be nullified if he can't meet up with his teammates across the other side by the pipes. So Use is playing inside you. Mochella is very close. He gets that first kill, but the information's given away. You still have Nano that got that showstopper kill, picks up the Vandal and gets the headshot onto Mochilla. And now that the heal's gone, the resurrection's gone, orbital strike as well. Pushing inside the showers, Proximal comes face to face with Millie's bullets from the Phantom, and an eco round from Way2French somehow came into their favor.
Solid play coming out there from Way2French, using those ults that were built up, and they still have two more. They've got the Neural Theft, and they've got the Hunter's Fury for the Sova. On the opposite side, you've got Neural Theft, you've got the Res, and you've also got Hunter's Fury. So basically matching it outside of the Res a few ticks away here for the attack. Jbzzz on 4 out of 7 on that ult charge. But Way2French currently at 5 rounds already, and it looks like they're going to be challenging potentially the C site. Recon Dart gets taken out early. Now, we've seen this 3-player setup over on B early on from Ascend, but they've frequently rotated a player out after not spotting anything early on. Now they're getting aggressive inside Hookah. This could be a bit of a problem as Nano is right around the corner and has the nade. Pulls the pin but decides to back off. Uses the satchel to get away as well. I like the creativity coming in from Nano. Nano's going to stick around as the rest of the team's going to start moving around through long.
Now they shot the Owl drone from that elbows. They know that he loses the fight still from Nano inside the hookah, and Will gets paint shells before he gets picked off. So a kill from the grave, a wall to come from Use, and a 3-on-2 in favor of the attackers of Way2French. They have a Hunter's Fury to work with though on the D. And he's actually playing inside this entrance of Hookah. Freshie again on that flank coming in from Long B. Gets the first kill, but it's traded off by the Hunter's Fury with the last shot coming in. Now we have 38 seconds left of the clock. Proximal is rotating back towards Long B. And you still thinks he's towards this Hookah. Thankfully, though, the advantage is for the Sage as he has more HP. And now even Proximal thinks that the spike's been picked up and moved towards the A side. And now at the same time, too, I think Use is going to take the TP. They might meet face-to-face just around this corner right now. This is so huge. Use opens it up. Here comes the corner, the backstab, and you're dead. What? Can you have a better timing? Can you have any better timing?
That worked out so nicely for Proximal, too. I mean, just ridiculous that both players had the same thought at the same time. And, had he gone towards B and planted that spike B, I think he wins the round. Because
definitely.
Proximal is so far away from that play that at that point, like, yeah, you have a one-on-one and you've already killed 15 seconds off the timer just waiting for the player to even get close to the site. So kind of lucky for Ascend. Way2French is probably like, all right, come on, seriously? Like, he's there? Why are you there? That would be my answer. My question when I play this, if I was the Sage on the receiving end of that, I'd be like, why are you in spawn? What are you doing there?
I wouldn't say a word. I'd smash
Just
my
question
Destiny
mark.
movie, Buck.
Yeah, that's true. You would say a word to the rest of your team. You'd blame them for all dying.
You know me too well. Proximal though with the Hunter's Fury onto Mill as they're trying to go for an aggressive push inside this A site one more time. The wall to come up. The Molly is a little bit too far, so they should still be able to get this spike pine down. Showstopper long range on the top of the APC. Mochilla's going to work as well. And this is not looking good for Way2French at all, but they have Nano, a big fragger for the team. Immediately stopped by Mita. Now long range, Use gets the first one, couldn't line up anymore. And the defuse will come in for Ascend. At least 300 credits for each player on the attacker side after that plant. But I think the money should finally be low enough here, Buck.
Taking a look at the cash, you can see that money you were talking about. It's pretty low on Way2French, but they're still going to try to put some semblance of a buy together. They do have some light armor, pistols, some SMGs. Proximal lining up one of those darts. You can go to dart school here from Proximal. I've actually lately, as I've been playing maps as Cypher, I've been pulling up one-way guides just so I don't continue to use the same traps. And even though I've played Cypher pretty much since beta, I still find something. I'm like, wow, I never saw that one before. I love how creative players have gotten. It's very similar to like CSGO with smokes and long nade pulls. You got to wonder, at what point do those stop becoming cool? Will there eventually be a ceiling that's hit? Look at this, inside the cyber cage. Surprise, we're here, but at the same point in time, so is the defense, and they're raiding and ready for you. Incred, around the corner, spotted out by the Neural Theft, in addition to the fact that he had already jumped through and found a kill. A pretty good round for Way2French, considering that was just pistols, armor, and a little bit of SMGs. They'll be buying up full here, but they reduce things down to 2. So Ascend, even though they stomped it out initially, Incred finding a couple of kills towards the tail end of that play, made it cost a little bit more money, and you can see that effect on the credits currently built up for Ascend. You've got 400 left for Proximal. Bearkin currently left with just 700, but at the same point in time, they've got the operator in play, and they've got players with some cash to spare. Freshy's also low on only 600, whereas Will and Mo both have 4,600 and 5,300 combined. That's quite a bit of cash that can get shared around. Recon Dart gets destroyed early on as Proximal again went for that deep Recon Dart towards B long. Mo with the operator currently pushed up inside a hookah, watching for a potential cross push, but it's not going to come to be. The rest of the team from Way2French is now heading back towards that short A area where they were grouped up initially. There's the 3 smokes coming out, the vanilla execute coming onto this A site, a sage wall likely to follow, as we're going to see the same standard A execute we've seen time and time again.
Yeah, and they're not even covering the spike here because they kind of know they already had this site. 2 players make that even 3, trying to push forward towards the showers. 1 coming out of the TP, Melia wins the fight. At least the Neural Theft does come out before he dies. So that's going to give information that they have 2 players on the defender side, inside showers, 2 inside pipes. They're in great positioning right now. But there is an orbital strike as well for the attackers to actually prevent any type of defuse coming through. So things are looking very good for Way2French. A Molly coming out from the opposing Brimstone. And now there's that orbital strike. Use still survives and gets a headshot onto Proximal with a self-heal on top of that. Has a res, but it's now a 2 on 0 as Use gets the hat trick on his side.
And that was impressive by Use, the Sage coming in from Way2French. You know, you see that orbital strike coming out. That's the whole principle of the play, is playing off the orbital strike and the smoke. Melio initially gets that Neural Theft, but look at this. Use inside the molly, narrowly dies as Proximal tries to escape the orbital strike, gets caught out by Use, who also picked off the Brim trying to come through from showers and play on the other side of the orbital strike. That was just really well played by the Sage. The self-heal comes in, gets the final kill on the round as well. But the whole principle of that play is playing off the molly and the Brim ult. So Brim never really pushes onto site. Brim basically makes sure that the spike gets onto site and gets planted, and then just sits back on short, lines up a long-range molly, and waits for a tap on the spike. Waits or to a certain point on the timer. Once it hits that timer, you pop the ult, guarantee yourself an additional couple of seconds, and then fire the molly up into the sky after 2 seconds. It lands, and boom, the round is won. There's nothing you can do about it.
And so far, you see that Way2French, it's always going to be that same strat. Why? Because they're at least able to get to the site every single time, uncontested, get the spike plan. It comes down to how well you hold the spike at the end of a post-plan situation. So far, they've been successful, looks like maybe 50% of the time, but they have all the chances in their favor now. Again, another 5-man retake on the defenders, as they have 3 guys moving in from the pipe, 4 guys to come in towards you at the same time behind an owl drone. A molly on the ground that's going to be huge here, and a trade across to give the advantage for Way2French. Freshie moving forward from the showers, molly in front of the U. Now showstopper, and right on top of the head, DOD style, as you like to say it here, Mark. As Incred looking for that last kill, but it's going to be Melio that's going to be able to pick it up. Send a 5 to end the first half here for Way2French. Like I said, just grouping it as a team and rushing towards that short A seems to be unstoppable most of the times for Ascend there. I mean, they just can't counter it. I don't know why.
It's because they're playing way too passive. If you look at the way they were playing that, they didn't actually have anyone playing U-Haul. So despite the fact that they have a Raze, the Raze was not playing aggressively, using those nades early on to sort of flush them out, wasn't using the bomb buddy to get that intel early on, was deciding to play back a little bit further. You also had the Sage playing over on C, walling off long B, whereas typically you might see that Sage walling off showers or walling off short. You didn't have those slow orbs as well to try and slow down that push. That is the most basic, standard vanilla strat for Bind. The 3 smoke Sage wall execute, you see it time and time again. You'll see it sometimes with a Viper in the mix as well, where you can throw down a toxic screen to cut off the vision from U-Haul. So it's literally a free path up into the site. You get the spike down, you fall back, and you set up post plants. You got to be more aggressive with that U-Haul control to prevent that from being a thing. You can see that currently with the way that Incred is playing this one. Pushed up around the corner. There's the smokes coming in, so they know what's about to happen. The molly comes down on top of the bomb buddy, but despite that, both players go down. Now, Millie is still here, the Sova, but they have to wait to get that spike across. The wall is also going to be different. They're going to wall across from APC to default. Oof. That's tough. The nade comes in, and that does significant damage to the Sova, requiring a heal from Use. So that's pretty good to flush that player out of position and guarantee the plant.
That's right. Now the retake's going to be attempted now. All 3 players moving in from the left side. The triple stack. First one to fall is going to be Mil, courtesy of Muchella. Coming in from the showers, but a drive-by from Melio. Headshot in return with the Ghost. Owl drone is actually popped off, and 2 players flanking from the back. He tells his teammate, but Use cannot react fast enough. Low HP was that Raze, but they still managed to get a double peek for the kill, and Ascend wins that incredible or important pistol on their end. Just unfortunate there, actually, for that hold. If he actually decided to push forward and try to get information instead of falling back from the paint shells, I think things could have been a little bit different, because the drive-by seems to be on point for these guys with the Ghosts. But Ascend executed that A site quite perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, it really did just come down to some unfortunate timing there. The nade was pretty significant, flushing out the Sova. Look at this. We've seen this before, this aggressive play, but look where the spike is. The spike is actually down, back in this territory. He might be walking right towards them. If Bearcoot turns around at the wrong time, we'll catch the first one. You'd think, okay, maybe he's got a smorgasbord coming his way. Instead, it's actually going to be the defense now who locks down that position, but there's players coming in from both sides. The pincer is there, and it squeezes tight around Way2French. So only 1 kill on the round coming in for the defense. Way2French going to watch Ascend tie up the score, but the buy is going to be coming in, and you can see the weight behind that buy as well. The operator picked up here by Millie. You've got rifles for the rest. 3 SMGs still in play. Freshie hasn't made up his mind about what he wants to do, whether you're going to see the operator or not. No, it's just going to be a Phantom. So only 2 rifles coming out. Good money on 4, though. Given the way that they survived the last 3 rounds, if they were to lose this round, Proximal would be the only one incapable of buying up in the next.
Spike is moving towards showers, and I saw 4 pings. So I'm assuming right now that Mochella, or they're telling right now the Brimstone to be able to smoke towards this triple stack so that nobody looks around from the spawn side, the pipes, and then going to have that pixel wall coming through from the Sage, and then they're going to boost up the wall, spike it, and then play the retake. And so far, you see those smokes coming through. That wall is yet to come up. but you do see that coverage. You have no information whatsoever from Heaven. Melio is already down to 23 HP. There is that spike, and because I guess the camera got broken too, he doesn't really have information to give away what's going to happen there. So now it's going to be a great position for the pulse plant situation for Ascend. The wall has finally been broken. Melio's position's kind of given away from a recon bolt. And Melio is trying to break that wall. They're trying to move in from the U-shaped. They have no information, actually, from where the defenders or the attackers are at on this pulse plant. They put their own wall up, and they try to go for a defuse. Finally, the first chaotic kills coming through, and it's going to be instantaneous on each side. Leaving it now a 2-on-2 situation. Mochella moving forward. Now, just like that, they get the kills. And when we talked about Mina needing to step up, well, Berkan gets a 4-kill on top of that with a Spectre when they had a full buy behind Way2French.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it coming into this map. The Cypher has to improve. Berkan has to play a little bit stronger, so we do see that 13-13 performance. Not exactly stellar when you look at the KD, but again, we talked about it in the last map. It's all about impact, and that round was pretty impactful. That round should have worked out so much better for them. I loved the camera position we saw from Melio over on that A site, but the token flaw of a lot of Cyphers is wanting to fire that dart right off the bat. A lot of times it's better to not fire it. Just hold the camera and just continue to get intel. It's something we see when you look at the high tier play. A lot of Cyphers don't fire a dart because if you put a camera in a right position, chances are they're not going to look. If it's behind the play as they walk through, they're not going to look behind themselves. So you can just sit there and spy on them and get all the intel. Put pings down on each individual player. Call out all the positions so that you know exactly where they're going. Depp played that really well in the T1 Nerd Street Gamers event. He played it consistently where he would put a cam up and then not fire a dart once. I think throughout the entire event, I maybe saw him fire like 3 darts out of his cam. Here comes the push in. Look at this! It's used right around the corner. Wants to go for the wall as well. The wall will come in, but it's not really going to help them out too much as they do have the push coming in through from Hookah. There's going to be a massive upgrade as the guns are scooped up. It's now a 4-on-2. Great play coming out with that aggressive Hookah crossfire.
Now the orb gets picked up at least to get a res, so they have a chance to reset if they want to. You already see Stage already running forward, but a double peek coming through. Mochella making it a trade as she stays alive for a bit, but they are closing in on him right now. So you have Nano so close at the entrance of the Hookah. His teammate right behind. Here comes the bait res, gets the first kill, and that's a wasted res on top of that. A great eco from Way2French from the back of Use with an angled corner that was in check. A soft clear maybe once again here, Bach, that pays the price. They get punished for it for Ascend. And 2 kills early for Use gives Way2French the advantage. There you go. You see that soft clear? It was actually Freshy that did a quick 90-degree, but never committed to it.
Imagine if he finds the third, too. Just like how ridiculous that would have been. Just boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3 with the Sheriff. And
I think I would have squealed higher.
Look at what it does to the buy coming in. Yeah. Their buy is abysmal. You know, they've got a couple of Sheriffs and a rifle, but it's not great. This is a huge round. If Way2French can win this one, I'm not sure what the buy will look like in the round that follows, because I'm pretty sure they're forcing around that one Phantom. They send out the Bomb Buddy early, does get them some intel. Wall coming out from Use. There's the Satchel boost as well from the Raze to get vertical on the site. This is another 3-player hold over on B, which has become standard in competitive meta. Look at the way they're creeping out underneath this wall. They heard that Satchel boost, so they anticipate potentially some verticality. And well read coming in from Ascend. Now, with everyone grouped up on Long, not only do they get orb control on both Showers and Long, they'll be backing off, and they've got this defensive side kind of confused. They don't know what to expect at this point. You do have the Raze ult, so the Showstopper is there, as well as the Neural Theft. And it looks like they're going to be heading over towards this A site where they can potentially use that rocket as a can opener.
It all depends here if Incred can actually fall back into a safe space and maybe bring back an orbital strike on his end for the rotation to come into his favor. So you see that Brimstone's falling back. He's going to have a smoke execute, and Emilio has a perfect camera too to get all that information. So he's going to be able to call that rotation from the defender side. Here comes the Cyber cages to pop up. Melio is waiting around the corner of view. Orbital strike does not connect onto anybody yet, but at least they get 2 kills. Even enemies reveal coming forward as Melio gets a 3rd kill and looking for that last one with no time left on the clock. Not even a spike plant going down. And that was very, very well played for Way2French on that push. Or just from 2 players.
I didn't even notice that Incred had the ult up. It just, maybe it was just me, but it didn't look like he was gold on my side. I like this cam placement coming out from Melio as well. Again, you know, in a great position to just really spot out intel and not necessarily fire a dart, just figure out everything. Here's that tripwire as well off of the portal, gives an angular approach. So that was a big round. We mentioned it coming into it. The buy is full coming in from Ascend. Despite the lack of a plant, they will be able to afford rifles. Proximal sending out the owl drone. Have to be careful with that drone. We've seen that drone punished before, where a player playing close sees the trajectory of it coming around the corner and rapid peeks you, takes you down. We've seen that happen time and time again. The spike, though, heading back towards the A site. You've got that orbital strike this time for the attack, and you can see them utilizing it. Incred tries to escape it after finding just one kill, but not able to do so. You've got the Cypher on site. The camera has been spotted. Melio's position is completely neutralized, so the spike will go down.
Oh! Just saw at least the Raze made it towards the showers, but I don't think the Raze is going to re-peek on that fight. So they're going to go back for this fight on that retake for the defender side. Freshy's still inside you, getting a triple kill, adding fourth to the tally, looking for that ace, but it's stolen away by Will. Where it looks so good there from Melio, who is creeping so ever slowly for that big flank rotation and even an aggressive one-on-one fight inside showers. Somehow all of his teammates just couldn't clear a single player inside you. And I mean, there's nothing more you could add to that. You lose gunfights, you try to fight back into the next round. Wow, okay. A nice update as you see on this overlay, ladies and gentlemen. Quarterfinal number 4. Team Underrated beating Big Frames 2-0. So they're one of the teams, or the third team that's moving into the semifinals right now. As we're looking to finalize the fourth one here. Witnessing Ascend versus Way2French. And this best out of 3, Way2French does have a map in hand. So if Ascend is able to bring this into a 13 scoreline victory, we will see a third and final map, which is going to be split here for the Trovo Challenge of Valorant. And now Proximal with his teammates will move in towards this hookah side. And look at that, they changed positions for the defense. Showstopper to come out. Jumping through, Rocket does not connect, still hiding inside the tin was Melio, but he's traded off. Use gets the kill onto Freshy, Will already inside the spawn, the smoke dissipates, gets the first frag. Hunter's Fury to come through, he's still trying to push forward, and Use wins that fight. Actually, it's stolen away by Mills Hunter's Fury. So they still have a chance to go for a retake because they still have a res too. And it's going to be a res towards that spawn side. I could definitely tell. Trades off here inside hookah. Mill getting a wall bang onto Proximal. And now they actually kill everybody. That was actually an amazing retake going on for Way2French. Getting 3 players alive on top of that. And a defuse to come through. They retake the lead in this matchup. But it continues to stay very close on both ends here, Mark, as it goes back and forth in the second half. We had a very close first half as well. I think it was, what, 7-5? Now 10-9, as it was looking one-sided to start things off when Ascend won that pistol in that second half. But now finally, we're seeing another very close game. There's a huge bee in my house. Wow.
Dude, the last couple of days I've had a fly buzzing around in my office. Yeah. I don't know where he came from, but I swear this sucker is like a baseball. He is huge, but he's moving with the agility of like, I don't even know, like a hummingbird. So I'm like trying to swat this thing away. It's just impossible to catch him.
I gotta save this one though, because it's a honeybee.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You can't be a contributor to the demise of the honeybee.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, you know what? I think it's just a giant ass fly too. All right, sorry, back with the action here, Buck.
The recon dart does go down inside the B site. Doesn't actually give away the position though, as the 2 players from defense that were in its sort of trajectory just back off far enough to escape the radius. Incred's pushed all the way up in showers, so they know this is going to be a B play, but for some reason they're actually rotating players out, confused as to what the call is here. Incred should be letting them know, guys, there's no one here. As he cycles back around, it's possible they're misreading this, that he's gone through and they think, oh, they could be on site going through from short. Now you're starting to see that light switch just flicked on. Hey, there's no one here. I think they're still going B. Now the utility comes out and they're realizing the mistake. The spike does get dropped and almost fell on the other side of that wall. That would have been a huge problem. Tripwire goes down. They can't figure out where it's at. We talked about that tripwire coming into this series. Great play coming out from Jbzzz thus far, who finds himself the ace. Absolutely ridiculous from back behind the wall. Just a crack to shoot through. Wins the round for Way2French, and it's a crushing blow for Ascend.
And I think that was like a mistake stress wall that came up there, because I don't think usually I see stages that does it on purpose to leave a gap in that wall being thrown at elbow. So Jbzzz used that to his advantage, no pun intended. But how the hell was he able to hold all of that? And while they're running back and staying fully exposed through that crack, probably because on the attacker side too, they're like, why is there a gap in this wall after all? But it was just very well played for Jbzzz. On top of that, now you get an ace. You have your resurrection ready. You could actually let your teammates play a little bit more aggressively, which is exactly what Incred did into this round. But now Ascent, they're starting to get desperate. They don't have that much money left to work with. They're going for a full buy here, of course. A gun sticks out first, and that's going to be the cue for Mill to get an easy kill to start things off. Through to smoke a second one. Wastes the res from Mochilla as well. Wastes an orbital strike inside you because nobody's killed yet. And Mill is still trying to stay alive. Freshie watching that flank. Incred wins that fight. Traded off by Proximal. But now the spike has finally been planted, but it could be too little too late. Oh, the cape again. I hate the capes. I hate the capes.
Proximal right around the corner there, dodges a bullet quite literally. Now trying to lock down this position on top of the bench. The res comes in from the defense. It's all up to Mochilla. Nice wall coming in as well, and Mochilla was low on ammo as well. There's actually a gap and the Sage goes around. What is happening? They're gonna go ahead and get the defuse on the spike, but a peculiar round to say the least. Oh my gosh, what on earth is going on?
It's chaotic, man. Like I said, they're close to a victory. Way2French can taste it. They're getting stressed out. Ascent's like, holy crap, we gotta stay alive. Mochilla runs out of bullets. Jbzzz runs out of bullets. Thankfully, though, almost. I think even that second person almost lost that gunfight, but thankfully they were able to get that defuse and stick it. Good at least attempt to put that wall up, but again, under that pressure, I don't think they were doing it on purpose to let that gap from the APC in that wall to give a chance for any type of salvation for that Sage on Ascent to come back here with Mochilla. Now into this round, though, it is map and series point, and it's starting off very well with, again, Incredible. Pushing so aggressively towards the showers, wins that fight towards the spawn. That's one down, a second one towards B, an all-out push inside this B site. A wall bang from Nano onto Will. It is far from maybe over here if they could actually clutch this. They still have a Hunter's Fury, but now it seems as though it's not manageable, not salvageable, and it won't be. Way2French wins this against Ascent, 13-9 in the second map and 13-10 on the first map of Haven, and they will be our fourth team moving into the semifinals tomorrow.
Hard fought, really hard fought, but just they didn't have enough. So Ascend, you know, they impressed. I was surprised to see some of the things that came out from them, but definitely fell flat a little bit. Way2French made a couple of mistakes themselves at times. That round that was won by Jbzzz, the 1v5 on the site. Yep. I mean, that's insane. Yep. Honestly, I was watching that round, and in my mind, I'm watching that round, I'm thinking, they lose this round. Looking at the way that round was breaking down, they misread the situation completely. With Incred pushed through showers, they thought, okay, maybe this is a cycle. So maybe they actually came through short while I was pushing through showers and got site control. So they start pulling players away from B as they thought they heard players falling off of B. But as it turns out, they were just staying on B. They were doing a delay strat. So they realized it a little too late, but a misplaced wall coming in from the attack side gives Jbzzz just a gap to shoot through. Initially takes down the spike. Good tripwire placement coming out from the Cypher on the site instead of going for the exits out of B main and Hookah. It works out so masterfully. So mistakes were met with mistakes, and ultimately in games like this or Counter-Strike or any 5v5 competitive shooter, it's not a matter of who has better aim, it's a matter of who makes less mistakes, and in this instance, it was Way2French.
Yeah, when you're looking at it, we're going to have the highlights coming through, but we're looking at Ascend and the highlight reels from Way2French too. We did ask for Barracuda to step up. I think that he did. He played his part. He did whatever he could, playing as a Cypher into this round. He was able to get a lot of information for his team as a Cypher. to try to get these wins. But there was a lot of rounds, a lot of plays that had to come down to clutch situations. This, again, questionable rocket. We're going to have to ask how that works from Riot. How the hell did he get a kill from shooting a rocket onto a wall? And this one, too, I actually wanted to talk about that round. So you remember that round when they had that cyber cage up towards that garden side? And that was something that... So that type of play with the cyber cages coming through, when it comes down, it's a surprise and a gamble pretty much on a gunfight that Way2French kind of lost. But if you actually had two players inside that cyber cage, one of them being or an Omen or a Phoenix to try to flash out, that gunfight was yours.
Yeah, I mean, a Breach is starting to taper off, at least as far as popularity. Here's that ace again.
Yeah,
you can see the wall, the gap being present. They couldn't figure out where the tripwire was because there was a cyber cage in play as well. So he was just dancing around looking for it, not expecting it to be that low to the ground. You'll see a lot of people currently throwing out tripwires like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think now I'm just talking with a Discord channel here, so it's all good.
I disappeared.
Bach, you just changed into text. It's all good. But that being said, I think soon we're going to get that bracket out for us, and we're going to see the top 4 teams that are going to make it into the semifinals. But, again, it's the first time that we're able to cast Ascend here, Bach, and the first time we see them in action, and I have to commend them. They look very good. They put up a great fight versus Way2French. Yes, they have a little bit to work with, but I like the potential that they have. So now you can see here the matchups, the face-offs for tomorrow and the semifinals here in North America for the Trovo Challenge Valorant. The first semifinals is going to be Demon Time versus Oxygen Supremacy. Demon Time for me, unknown in terms of that lineup, but we've already seen Oxygen Supremacy and the caliber and what they could bring. I'm hoping that Demon Time has that type of caliber as well, and we'll see a very good matchup. The second one now, I like the upset from Team Underrated versus Big Frames. That matchup versus Way2French, I'm looking forward to see that matchup too, because Underrated for me with the roster that they have, I can kind of tell it's going to be a puggy play style from that team, but since they have fraggers, since they have people that can aim, it could still be a very nice matchup that Way2French might still struggle against.
The players currently on Demon Time, by the way, I recognize those names. Players that played in like the Rank G system when I was a product manager. They also have like advanced and MDL level experience. Bishop and Coleup I know have played advanced. I'm pretty sure Spriggles played a little bit of MDL. Witness actually popped into chat earlier to give us some information as well, so I appreciate that. Witness... Yeah, I mean, Witness has been around for a minute. So, you know, these guys have definitely played their fair share of experience. So, honestly, if I'm looking at that series, I kind of feel like Underrated is going to beat Way2French in the semifinals. Nice. And I think that Demon Time and Oxygen Supremacy will go to a third map. I don't know who is actually going to walk away victorious, because I think Oxygen Supremacy showed some promise in that first series, but I also think that 303 was largely outmatched. So I can't give full credit to Oxygen Supremacy. I have to, you know, paint it as it is and illustrate that 303 was just not able to match the output coming in from their opposition. However, I do think they're a good team, and I think they have some solid executes, and they've been putting in work. They clarify that they've got their solid 5th player in on the roster now, so that might also help things out. So I think that'll be the series to watch in the semifinals, will be Demon Time versus Oxygen Supremacy.
Well, at least both matches, I think, will be quite exciting. And with that, that's going to be happening tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. But make sure you guys tune in earlier tomorrow as well for the Trovo channel, because we actually have the European scene that's happening at the same time, too, in the early morning, at least if you're from North America. That's going to start, I think, at noon in terms of Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. And that's broadcasted by Demand and Jay Caitlin. So a big shout out to those guys. A big thank you as well for Trovo to be able to put this money together for this tournament and to support the Valorant scene. Of course, there are brand new platforms, so make sure you guys sign up and make some accounts, and maybe it's going to be the new platform for you guys to stream on. And all of these guys are actually qualifying and playing, all thanks to the GLL. They actually have a bunch of tournaments happening daily in Valorant starting next week, so make sure you guys check that website out. I think it's play.gll.gg, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I did get it. twitch.tv/Valorant. So make sure you guys check that out. Sign up your teams. If not, they also have tournaments for PUBG, PUBG Mobile, and Auto Chess. Now, Bach, I think tomorrow you'll be celebrating with the fireworks here in the US of A. And for myself, since I'm Canadian, I've already done that a few days ago. So tomorrow, I'm going to bring my Canadian friend over as well. It's going to be Simo and myself to bring you guys the action. And Bach, big thank you for hanging out with me. Do you have any final words?
I don't know. Just thank you guys for having me along. It was a lot of fun. Quick 2-0 in the final series. Was hoping maybe we'd find that third map climactic build-up, but it didn't end up being the case. But I think you guys will get that tomorrow. I think you've got some great action coming your way.
For sure. And with that, big shout out to the production too. It's like 5 a.m. for them right now. So I think they're waiting for me to shut up so they could go to bed. So with that, we're going to close in day number qualifier, I guess, at this point for the Trovo Challenge Valorant. We'll see you guys tomorrow for the semifinals. And please remember, be kind to each other, and we'll see you tomorrow.